Alright, we're taking a look today at the Blix Vika X. And normally I set up my camera on a tripod to do the unboxing portion of the video, but I saw that this says unbox, unfold, power up, ride. I think that means that this bike is pre-assembled, and I do like that. Let's test it out and see. Yeah, it looks like this is mostly assembled. It looks like basically I just have to pull it out of the box and unfold it. It looks like I am going to have to put the handlebars down in the stem, but this is an easy job, and that's what I like to see because it is hot out today. So yeah, there's what it looks like when you get it out of the box. This is the stem right here that we got to fold up, and drop the handlebars right down in that tube, and then take all the foam crap off of it, and this bike should be ready to go. It looks like they're going for maximum easy with this bike, and I do like that. Alright, so once I got all the packing foam off of it, this is what it looks like. I've got the stem folded up here, and I've just got to drop the handlebar tube down in there. And what I would recommend is spreading it open a little bit like I did here, so that it will sit and not fall over. Then you just grab the handlebars and slide them down the tube like that. Okay, come on. And you slide the handlebars down the tube like that, and you can adjust them to your height. I'm going to put them all the way down because it's got a giraffe neck stem here, and I think that I'm not going to need to set those up any higher than that. But that's how you do that. It looks like the only other thing I'm going to have to do is put the pedals on, but that's easy. I'm going to unfold the bike now so the pedals are easy to get to. Just going to grab it from behind here and swing this around. And lock everything in place. The hinge is a little bit tight. I imagine that'll loosen up as you use it. Then we just put this locking mechanism in place here. Clamp that down, lock that down. Good to go. Just got to put the pedals on now. Okay, the bike comes with one additional box. We get a reflector in the box, pedals, which I'm going to put those on now. Owner's manual. Little multi-tool set here. And this is our charging cable. And it is it's a 2-amp charger. I'm not sure what the amp hours are on the battery on this yet. I will cover that here in just a second. Alright, I got the battery off the bike, and it looks like it's using a proprietary pinout, so you won't be able to just buy a third-party battery for this bike. But it is a 48-volt, 12.8 amp hour battery. So it's going to take you about 6.5 hours to charge this battery up from completely dead to completely full with the included charger. Alright, so everything about this bike so far has been easy and convenient, and I think that's the design principle that they built this bike around. I normally do a walk around of the bike and show everything that it has. This one just doesn't have much, as it is designed around that simplicity, but there are a few things that stand out that I want to point out, and one of them is this shifting system here. This bike has an automatic shifter, and it's got 8 gears back here, and you can set it in an auto mode and it will go through all the gear shifting for you. And that's something that most people just don't use on a bike, especially an e-bike. Is most people are very, at the best, inefficient shifters, and so using a shifting system with the e-bike, this will really help to economize your battery. And speaking of efficiency, this is a bike that really understood the assignment, and what I mean by that is that most folding bikes are really not very efficient in their builds. I think a folding bike should be lightweight and easy to maneuver. Well, most folding bikes, once you add fat tires and a big motor and a big battery and all of that stuff on top of the bike, you're pushing a lot of them around 80 pounds, and not only is that hard to lift, but it also is very inconvenient for putting in and out of your vehicle and carting along in your house. So when your pedals and things like that get caught on interior panels and stuff like that, because you're dealing with maneuvering this heavy bike around, it tears up your vehicle or inside your house or wherever you're trying to maneuver it. This one solved a lot of that problem. This bike is 55 pounds. I know that sounds like a lot, but in the world of folding bikes, it's really not that much. And you can take this battery off and you can take the seat off and save yourself about another 10 pounds for moving it around. Now the sacrifice, the trade-off is that you don't have the power that you would normally get from a bigger, more heavy-duty folding bike, but I don't think this bike is really made for speed. I think it's made for your sightseers who want to cover a lot of ground, but not go so fast that they don't get to slow down and enjoy the ride and see what they're looking at. So they really nailed what I think a folding bike should be with this one. So as I mentioned, a lot of folding bikes have bigger batteries than this. This is a 12.8 amp hour battery, and because this is on the low side, don't let that discourage you, because the way they built the bike as far as keeping it all efficient to get the most out of this battery is actually quite amazing, because this uses a torque sensor, and combine that with the lightweight build of the bike, and combine that with the automatic shifting system, this little battery will take you a very long way. I want to show you the screen setup now, and this controller here, there's a button back here which you use to turn the bike on, and if you tap this button it goes through the modes. And as you can see here, as we go through the different modes, this is turbo mode for example, it shows that our estimated range mileage is 48 miles. If we leave it in auto, basically the torque sensor is going to basically try to match our pedaling output. And if we go into eco, it gives us very little and we're going to do most of the work, but you can see we've got an estimated range of 87 miles. And in touring mode, 62 miles. And in touring mode, in comparison to eco mode, it gives us a little bit more power and we do a little bit less work. And in turbo mode, it does a lot more work and we do less work. But this being a torque sensor, no matter what mode you put it in, it's always going to respond to the amount of pedaling that you're doing. Now, if you do want to skip any of the pedaling, you do have a throttle over here and you can just ride it like a motorcycle. But this bike, to get the most out of it, I would say you're going to want to do some pedaling, which is good because you can cover a lot of ground and get really great exercise on this bike. And another thing that this bike has, like I mentioned, the estimated range mileage, this is actually pretty accurate from what I've seen. If you go into a higher mode, it's going to give you a lower number here, but in my experience, I rode this bike the first time I took it out riding it, I rode about 50 miles and I was really surprised, because under most circumstances you're not going to be able to get 50 miles out of a 13 amp hour battery. Aside from that, really the bike is pretty simple. There's not a lot to show. I showed the folding aspect of the bike. I will say there's one thing I don't like about the folding aspect, and that is this clamp here. When you unfold this, the way this thing hooks, it is really hard to really inconvenient, I should say, because when you go to unfold it, the way this latches around right here, it wants to catch as you're unfolding it, so you've got to kind of have almost 3 hands to do this, but you've clipped this out and you've got to hold it with one hand while you're swinging that back. And other than that, it's not too bad. But up here, something that threw me for a loop too was you've got this push pin to unlock it, and again it goes in tight, so you need more than 2 hands to do this sometimes, but then you can fold that down and everything's good there. But it's really not that bad. It's just a little bit slower than most folding bikes. We do have some premium parts on this bike. We've got the electronic shifter, like I mentioned before, and I'm going to show you that out on the ride. And we've got the hydraulic brakes on this bike, which is really kind of overkill for a bike of this size. I don't think you really need hydraulic brakes, but they do feel really, really nice. and this bike has some of the best braking I've ever felt on a bicycle. It's a pretty small bike, but it can accommodate pretty tall riders. I'm 5'10", and that's about where I have the seat height set, and we can go all the way up to about right there, or all the way down to this height right here. So I'd say, you know, all the way down to like maybe 5'1", 5 foot, and probably up to, I don't know, easily 6'2", 6'3". Like I said, I'm 5'10", and that's about where I keep the seat. The same with the handlebar height. You can adjust this as well to a pretty high range. I always keep it as low as it can go because I don't need the bars any higher than they are right now. It's got a pretty decent headlight and taillight system and turn signals. So this is the headlight on the low beam here, and then this is high beam. In the sunlight here, it's kind of hard to tell. When you put it on high beam, it also turns on the tail light, and that also functions, and the tail light also functions as a brake light. And there's what our turn signals look like. As for the control screen, this is a little different than most common e-bikes. Most e-bikes are going to have like 1 through 5 pedal assist. This one has actual modes. So you've got your auto mode here, you've got eco mode, touring mode, and then turbo mode. And this is going to determine how much power the bike gives you. We've got 8 levels here that we can go up and down, but where I thought initially that was going to be like pedal assist, that's actually telling you, this is actually telling you what gear you're in. So I'm going to check. I've upshifted to 8. I can't go down past 7 because the bike is setting still right now. If I were moving, I could actually downshift that. But the way that's controlled is with this paddle shifter here. You push down to downshift and up to upshift. And when you're in auto mode, let me go over, oh, I passed it. When you're in auto mode, if you hold the plus button by the gear indicator here, we see that it turned into auto mode. Basically, that's going to shift the gears for you, and we're going to check that out when we go for a ride. All right, so here we go. It's a windy day here at the park, and it's going to be a good test of the automatic shifting mode for this bike. But first, I just want to get a speed test out of the way. Now, let me tell you right out of the gate, this bike is not built for speed. And I'm going to go on up into 8th gear here just so we can get our top speed out of the way. So there are a lot of bikes that kind of blur that line between motorcycle and bicycle when it comes to e-bikes. This one leans a lot more towards being a bicycle and not a ridiculously fast, high-powered, almost motorcycle bike. So I'm going to switch into, I'm in 8th gear, I'm going to switch into turbo mode and show you what this bike can do as far as top speed goes. I'm in turbo now, and I'm going to pedal it as hard as I can. And it is a torque sensor, so I got it up to 28.9 miles per hour, but it takes a lot of work to do that. It responds to the torque that you put into it, and maintaining a very basic cadence, you know, kind of comfortable riding, I can keep it at around 18 miles per hour in turbo mode, sometimes up to 20, but normally about 18 is what I am comfortable with, and that's what this bike is kind of built for. Like I said, this is a sightseer's bike, not a fast commuter bike. It's built so that you can cover a lot of ground, but still be going slow enough to really take in all the views. And This bike really does have an optimization for being built for range, but I don't think anybody's going to be riding this thing for hours and hours at a time. It's not uncomfortable, but it's definitely not the most comfortable bike I've ever ridden. So with the speed test out of the way, let's cover our gear shifting now, the automatic shifting mode. And I'm going to go down into first gear here. You have to pedal to shift the gears. But here we are in gear 1. And now I'm going to switch over into automatic mode. And the way we do that is we hold the plus button here. And now it's in automatic. Here we go. I'm going to take off from a stop. Now we heard it beep, so it shifted up into second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and there's 8. And on flat ground like this, you really don't need to get out of 8th gear. I mean, most people, I would think. But it is going to recognize the torque that you're putting into it, and it's going to downshift and adjust accordingly. So now I got to address the elephant in the room, and that is the price on this bike. So it's $1,800, which is very, very pricey for what you get, I think. And that's going to be the downside for a lot of people when it comes to this bike. You can get a lot of bike for $1,800. Now what you do get with this one is convenience and ease of use. So I think like seniors who have a lot more money than they do have time, this is going to be a good bike for them because it comes basically assembled. It's UL certified. Basically it's a no fuss, no worry bike. You pay the money, you open the box, you ride it, and it does what you want it to do. For your average person who kind of knows how to shift, or maybe the shifting really isn't that important to them, this might not be the bike for them. But anyway, we got our first hill test here. I'm in gear 8. Once I start going up this hill, it should start downshifting for me. Here we go. I guess there's just not enough of a hill here for it to downshift. Yeah, I was able to give it enough power to just climb right up the hill, no problem. This is not a bike that is made for using throttle only. I mean, you do have the option of using throttle only. And when I get to a flat spot down here, we'll test that part out. The brakes on this bike are just absolutely fantastic. They are, like I said, they're kind of overkill. They're hydraulic brakes, and they do a fantastic job of stopping this bike. It is really, really, feels really great to brake on this bike. But here we go, throttle only test, wide open, me not pedaling. And it's pretty peppy. It's got a 500 watt motor, 48 volt 500 watt motor, 48 volt battery, that is. So it's got some decent takeoff, but under throttle only it does cap out at 20 miles per hour. So let's go back into auto mode now. This is our second hill here. I'm going to take off from a stop, and we are in gear 8, so it really should downshift on its own as I climb this hill, but it didn't on the last one. This hill is a little bit more steep, so let's hope that it doesn't. Okay, there it goes. It downshifted now. And I gotta say, like, pedaling this bike up hills is really, really easy, especially when you consider that it's only a 500 watt motor. I mean, it climbs this hill better than a lot of 750 watt or even that claimed 1,000 watt motors, and it just upshifted now that we're on flat ground. So yeah, as far as just putting it in automatic mode and letting it shift for you, if you want to climb hills a lot and you've got a long range to go and you don't really want to worry about thinking about much of anything, this might be the bike for you. Like I said though, it is pricey, and you can get a lot more bike for, you know, 1,800 bucks. And this might be the perfect bike for some people out there. I think this is the perfect bike for somebody who goes on vacation a lot and wants to take their bike along with them, because range anxiety with this, really not a thing. It says we've got 52 miles left to go, and what I've found is that this is pretty accurate as far as the mileage tracking goes, and depending on what mode you're in, you can get more miles out of it. So I'm going to switch down into, oh, I overshot it there. Yeah, this is eco mode right here, and eco mode is saying that we've got 84 miles that we can go, and at a fairly comfortable cadence. I'm maintaining almost 17 miles per hour. Now, I don't know if I could maintain this cadence for a full 84 miles. I'll be real with you, my butt wouldn't last 84 miles on this bike. I think this is a bike that basically people are going to ride for maybe 10 miles at the most, from one stop to the next, hop off, enjoy a little dinner, see the sights, hop back on it, ride another pretty good ways, stop and take some photos, and then, you know, do that kind of riding all day long. And for that, it's perfect. This is not a city commuter bike. It's not a moped style bike that's going to rip up and down and get where you're going really fast. This is a bike that is really great for covering a lot of ground and slow enough to let you really enjoy what you're seeing. Got a little bit of a hill here. Again, the motor just gave us enough power that it really didn't need to downshift. I am going to take it through the gravel here. This bike it handles the gravel okay, but it's a rough ride. This bike doesn't have a suspension. Like I said, when they built this thing, they did everything they could to keep it lightweight and keep it tracked. Oh, lordy. So yeah, gravel is not the best experience on this bike, but if you were to add a suspension to this bike, you're going to add another several pounds from that. You know, you put a bigger battery on it, that adds a few more pounds. I think what they did was they designed this bike to be as efficient as possible with the stuff that they put on it. So I like that they put hydraulic brakes on this thing, because that doesn't add much more weight. You know, they kept the suspension off of it, they kept the battery small, but they made everything work with each other to make it an efficient vacationer's rider, if that makes any sense. Let's head through the grass here and see how it does. Yeah, not the best on grass, and it's doing it, but oh lordy, without a suspension, it's a bit of a rough ride. This bike does its best on smooth pavement like this. So what I won't be doing in this video is a range test, and it's just because the time that it would take to do a range test on this bike would just be so long to do. But the way they built this bike for the style of riding that you do on this bike is extremely efficient. I mean, it just sips the battery, and range anxiety, I think your butt's going to give out way before the battery gives out on this bike. I know mine did. and I'm pretty conditioned for all-day rides. So one thing I did forget to mention about this bike is that it does have an app, the Blix app. What I really like about this bike and the app is that you don't have to register an account. So, and it shows you information on here. I'm not going to go too deep into this, but it's showing us our remaining battery life, which I've been riding for about 10 miles now, and we're down to 92%. So that's pretty awesome. We've got different modes in here, and you can go in here and unlock class 3, which it comes locked into class 2 mode. I really don't see a lot of need to unlock it into class 3 because it just takes so much energy to get it up over 20 miles per hour pedaling. Though you can take it up to 28 miles per hour if you need to. I guess it's nice to unlock just in case you would run into like a dog or anything like that that would want to try and chase you down. Having that extra little bit of speed when you need it is nice. But that's the app. There's not a whole lot to it where I would go into a lot more detail with it, but like I said, I think they designed this bike for seniors, so they made the app pretty easy to use, and I like that. I really like that you don't have to register an account to use it. It just connects and works. A lot of e-bike apps are just kind of junk. This one works, and it works well. Oh, so one thing I should have mentioned earlier is that no matter what mode you're in, throttle is going to override that. So if I hit the throttle, it's going to take us up to 20 miles per hour, regardless of whether we're in eco mode or turbo mode or auto mode. Basically, once you hit the throttle, it changes to EV mode, and basically that's it. 20 miles per hour. And if you have the bike unlocked in turbo mode, you can go up to 28 miles per hour while pedaling, but it is a torque sensor, so it's going to respond to how hard you're pedaling. So it's a bit of a rough job to get the bike up to 28 miles per hour in turbo mode, but you do have the option there, as long as you've unlocked it in the app in class 3. And I guess I should say that if you run the bike throttle only, it's going to throw all of the efficiency that this bike is built for out the door. Once you start running this bike in throttle only, it's really going to start draining the battery and draining it fast. And really, that's about it. My bike reviews are usually a lot longer than this, but this bike is just so simple, and I mean simple in a good way. There's just not a lot else to cover on this thing, and that's not a bad thing at all. Like I said, final thoughts and who is this bike for? I think I covered that already. I think it's going to be a great bike for seniors. It's going to be a great bike for people who want to go on vacation but want a bike that's not going to take up a big footprint in their vehicle as they go where they're going. I think if you keep the right tool for the right job mentality with this bike, it's going to be a great bike for a lot of people. But it's pricey, and there's no doubt about that. Like I said, you can get a lot of bike for $1,800. If I can offer any kind of promotional discounts, I'll put that in the video description below, but I don't know if they're going to give me any kind of deals like that I can pass along to you or not. But if they're available, they will be down there. But like I said, overall great bike, especially when you start peeling away the layers of the onion and see what it is actually built to do. But it's a pricey one. Anyway, that's it for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Stop recording.